So, quick note to this video. I kept saying Metal Slug Tactics, and I actually meant Metal Slug Attack Reloaded. I don't know why I got those two mixed up, but I did. I apologize. Alright, so today I've got 3 games to review for you. I can honestly say none of them are awful, but there is clearly one that is better than the other two. So if you're curious about Metal Slug Tactics, that shadow drop during the Nintendo Direct, the horror game Garten of BanBan, or the tower defense game Lesson Learned, then stay right here because that's what we're going to talk about. This is not a time for that quick little text, it's time to pay attention. Although they do say that distracted viewers usually rewatch the same YouTube videos over and over, so hey wait, what's that behind you? Nah, I won't mess with you for views, although a like and subscribe would be really appreciated. So I guess let's start with our best foot forward, and oddly enough, I'm gonna say that's Metal Slug Tactics. Now I was not expecting to enjoy this game, and when it shadow dropped I was a little bit let down that it was really the only game that did shadow drop during the Direct. It's a lot of great games, but that's the only one we get. Well, it turns out Metal Slug Tactics is actually really good. It's a lot of fun and super addictive. It's one of those games that will just keep you hooked. Now, I get where a lot of people would complain about it because it was ported from mobile, and I'm sure on mobile it was a free-to-play. I haven't looked into that, I probably should. But what I did notice was that there is a ton of customization in this game, starting with just the characters. So they consider your characters to be cards, and you have a deck. You have like 10 that you can assign. And essentially, you have to earn so much MRS or something. I don't know, it's basically points that you get for attacks, and it just builds up over time in general. When you reach a certain number, you can summon a new ally. Now that soldier will fight until he dies for you, but in the meantime, you're still earning up a lot of those points to continue to summon new soldiers, or even resummon the same ones again. Now if you're not happy with your team, you think they're too basic, you can go to the main menu and actually summon new allies or new cards. When you take some of what you've earned from previous victories and use them there, you have plenty of these resources to do that. In, a lot of your free-to-play games comes very limited, and that is where they get you to buy more. It's really just never ending. As long as you continue to earn them, you can continue to spend them. There's no cap. There's not even a cap on how much time you can play. So you could just keep redoing the same stages over and over, earning the exact same rewards, and then just continue to summon just a ton of allies to your team. Now, if that's not enough, you can actually upgrade your allies. Let's just say there's one you really like using, you really flow with that one or that team, you can actually level them up with another resource that you get from winning. And when you level them up, you make them stronger, you make their health a lot higher, and you actually lower how much it takes to summon them. So it can be a really good move. Now your main goal of this game really though is to protect your base. Your base is something that can also be leveled up. It has a certain amount of HP when you start, and it generates so many of those points, but as you level it up, it'll generate more points, and it will be able to take more damage, and it'll be quicker about summoning your allies. All of these things can be leveled up. Not only that, but you can then equip your characters, your allies, with different weapons or different upgrades, accessories, things that will help them on the battlefield. So there is a ton to this game. I could see though, where if this was a free-to-play game, this would be one of those money grabbers. If you're basically buying the entire game for $10 though, I think it's well worth the cost, because there is just a ton of content in here and a lot to do, not to mention all the other game modes. The main campaign is the one you're first introduced to, and the whole goal of it is there was an evil bad guy, I don't know, whoever the Metal Slug bad guys are, they took over the world, and now you're going to each country, liberating each country. Well, there's actually another game mode that is just another campaign, like another side of that story. Now, it's true, I don't really think the story is that remarkable, as I didn't even know who the bad guys are, like what their names are. I just know they call them like the Rebel Army or whatever. But I do enjoy it, and it's definitely one of those pick up and play games. Not to mention, the actual graphics and just aesthetics in general are amazing looking. This game looks fantastic, performs really good as well. So ultimately, at $9.99, this game is an 8 out of 10. Now, this wasn't the only tower defense game I was looking forward to. In fact, there was another game that I've kind of been watching on the eShop called Lesson Learned. And the reason why I really wanted to play this game was essentially because I'm a nerd. And it essentially says that you get to play the game through the ages of history, the different eras, as you're in a history class, but yet something happens and you actually get teleported back in time, and you're fighting through the Bronze Age, medieval times, BC, all of that. It's essentially Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, but in a tower defense game, and every time that you are able to beat an enemy, beat an area, you'll unlock a new friend. You see, you have to collect resources. When you have these resources, you can then build giant weapons that will fire at your enemies who are trying to attack your base. But this is really a two-person job, if not more, because how many enemies come, how often they destroy your weapons, and how much resources it really takes to build the weapons, not to mention the fact that the weapons just don't take them out that quickly. You also have a slingshot which stuns the enemies, so when you're getting mobbed by just a horde of weird-looking bird creatures, you can start shooting your slingshot as well and slow them down, while your little buddy is out there collecting resources so you can continue to build more of these gigantic weapons. Now, if all this sounds pretty good, well, that's why I spent the $7-8 on it to get it, because it sounded really good. And I have to mention too, the aesthetics, the art style of it. The characters look really creepy and just kind of cool. I don't know, I like that art style. I don't know if it fits the game, but it looks cool. Almost looks like something Todd McFarlane might do. But okay, my big issue with the game, number one, there really isn't much in history. Like, they'll be like, oh, it's King Tut, and it's a weird looking like bird creature with a thing on his head or something, or he has a weird staff or something. It doesn't really go through any history at all. Okay, alright, what's the other issue? Well, honestly, not much of anything else besides the fact that the game is slower paced, and it would have been a game that I would have said is pretty decent had it not been for Metal Slug Tactics, as both of these games share the same mechanics, and Metal Slug Tactics is just so much more exciting, so much more fun, fast-paced, interesting, all those things with a lot more content around the same price, both being tower defense games. And that's without all the customization in Metal Slug. They're both tower defense games, and yes, they have a few different mechanics to them, but when you compare the two side by side as tower defense games, it's really easy to see which one is quite a bit better and has a lot more bang for your buck. But that doesn't mean that Lesson Learned isn't still a good game, and I do think if you love tower defense games, you're probably going to enjoy it. It comes in at a pretty cheap price. I think I got it on sale, but I think typically it's $8.99, maybe $9.99. It's worth it if you're really into tower defense games. Now, if you're like me and you only like playing them every now and then and you'll just pick one up randomly, if I haven't played Metal Slug Tactics, I would grab that. Or honestly, the remake of ActRaiser is really good. Or I believe the game's called Man's Best Friend, and it's about a dog. That's probably the best. You recruit all these dogs to fight with you. I reviewed it a while ago. It's a really great tower defense game. So, on to the last game, Garten of BanBan. I hope I'm saying it right. It might be BanBan or whatever. But this is very much in the style of Five Nights at Freddy's, Poppy's Playtime, I guess even a little bit of an End of the Adventure. But it's basically like a mascot horror game. You are essentially a parent whose kid turned up missing in this like kindergarten preschool, and so you're trying to find them. The majority of the obstacles that stand in your way are really simple puzzles that most people will figure out. The game itself isn't overly gruesome or gory, at least in the beginning, but it is disturbing. There is some off-putting things that you find, namely just like letters and pictures that like children have drawn and things that they've said about a lot of these mascots who are running around. The one new mechanic or new idea that they implemented in this game is a drone. You're able to get a drone which interacts with these big buttons that are all around the school. Most of the time it just like opens doors or will give you a different path forward. Now if you're like me, you've probably never heard of this game, but this game was a mobile game and you can kind of tell. The first episode is only $1.99, so it seems like it's not bad. It's about 20 minutes of gameplay, and honestly, if you're interested, I would check it out, because one of the big issues for me was the controls. Making your character run was a real pain in the butt. Not to mention the performance. The game is kind of laggy or something. It just felt like this game wasn't ported very well. And since honestly, I don't play a lot of these games and it's not really my genre, I had to ask someone who definitely knows this stuff, and that would be my son. He loves Five Nights at Freddy's and a lot of those type of games. I asked him what his thoughts are on this, and he essentially said that it felt like a cash grab. The story was lacking a lot. There was no hidden lore like a lot of the other ones, or at least if there was, it wasn't very good, and essentially just felt lazy and sloppy. No, I can't speak from anything on that, but I can tell you for me, I didn't really enjoy it. Not for the final cost. You see, I said the first game, or the first episode, was $1.99, right? But if you want to buy the entire game, all 4 episodes, it's $19.99. And if they all perform and play like the first one, I'm not interested, honestly. It's just, I have to agree with him. It felt like it had no soul. Like, it was just a cash grab. But I could be wrong, and there could be people in the comments saying, like, oh, this game is fantastic, it's amazing. I don't know what your problem is. I would go back to performance and controls, because if those two things were working, I probably would explore a little bit more. But just by the way that you control the character, or character moves, it just wasn't worth it to me. It was more of a hassle. It felt like a chore to play the game, and that's not why we play games. So ultimately, I have to give this game a 5 out of 10. It's fine, but the value really creeps up on you as being negative. The actual story is lacking. In fact, most of what I found out was by reading the blog. It doesn't tell you exactly in the game. It doesn't tell you much in the game. And performance and controls just were not there for this one. But anyway, let me know if any of those games are ones you're interested in or that you've played. Anything and everything in the comment section below is much appreciated. I love each and every one of you guys. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.